Welcome to the Careers by Jen podcast, episode 240. On this episode of the podcast, Jen talks to Bill Bice on finding a mentor to kickstart your career. You know, someone who can teach you how to be successful without boring you with a lot of advice.
You're listening to the Careers by Jen podcast. I'm your host, Jen Swanson. This is the podcast that helps you to get the job, love your work, and advance your career. Careers by Jen is a listener-sponsored podcast, and if you like the content, please consider supporting the show as a patron. You can do so for as little as $1 a month. Head over to CareersbyJenn.com and click on support to learn more. Hello, friends, and welcome to this episode. Before we jump into the topic, I wanted to let you know about a holiday special that we have going on here at Careers by Jen. Now, back a couple of years ago when the show was still Communication Diva, I created a communications course for couples. It was intended for couples who are thinking about getting married, who are engaged, or are looking to move in with each other for a lifetime, hopefully. It was a marriage preparation course, but actually people who are already married and people who had lived together for quite some time actually took the course to refresh their relationships, and the feedback was fantastic. So it's basically everything I would have jammed into a weekend-long couples retreat, but now it is fully online, it is self-paced, and the couples don't even have to be in the same place to access it, although it's much more fun if you are. So it's called Marriage Works, and it is on special now for the holidays for 50% off. That's right, 50% off. It's great for a wedding or an engagement gift or for your own enjoyment. The course has many, it actually wouldn't all fit into a regular weekend workshop. It's got a lot of information in it. I've got some guest speakers in there. There are links to all sorts of things, activities, and it's video-based, and you can work at it at your own pace. There are segments on communication, on finance, on intimacy, spirituality, family influence, conflict styles, and it has activity suggestions, loads of questions for you to explore together, and I think there's even a recipe in there somewhere. So check it out from now until January 1st, 2020 at careersbyjenn.com/holiday, all capital letters, careersbyjenn.com/holiday, or you can go to the website and select Marriage Works in the online courses selection, and you can enter the promo code HOLIDAY 2019. And either way will get you a 50% off saving on this virtual weekend couples workshop. So that's careersbyjenn.com/holiday. Now, today's guest is founder and CEO of Boomtime, a marketing company. Bill Bice is passionate about helping business to grow. And today we are going to talk about finding a mentor to kickstart your career. And I start our conversation by asking Bill, why is it important not to go it alone?
Well, because it is so much harder. So I do a lot of work with entrepreneurs, and I just see this over and over again, that the companies that are started with a partner have so much more of a chance of being successful. And it's because it isn't all just on you, and you have somebody to work with and brainstorm with, and the ideas that come out of that, and all the multiple resources and skill sets that you and your partner are bringing to the table. It greatly increases the likelihood of success. So if you ever decide to make that jump and you want to go start your own business, you really need to find somebody who believes in it just as much as you do. And if you can't convince somebody to do that, you really need to question, well, is it a great idea? Should I be doing this?
And so what if you're looking to get into an industry that already exists as an employee or transition to a work that already exists? Is mentorship important in that as well as a strategy?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And this just comes from my own personal experience and the vast number of mistakes that I have made. And one of my biggest was, so I started a software company when I was 18 and literally thought I knew it all, which, was obviously
You're
absolutely
18.
ridiculous. Right. Yeah. So the beauty of that is you think you can do anything. And so that's why, I was crazy enough to go think I could write software for attorneys and convince them to buy it, which I was actually able to do that. But, it took a really long time to build that business because I didn't accept help and I wasn't looking for mentorship. And now I take because of that experience, I take the opposite view. And, I've worked on a lot of different businesses in a lot of different industries. And now I always seek out somebody who's already been there and done that and has already been where I would like to go, which is just it's an amazing way to peek at the future. And that's what a great mentor does, is they help guide you to that future that you want with experience where they've already been there.
So when did that shift in your thinking happen for you?
When I was about 34 is when it started.
So quite a ways after 18.
Yeah, it took me a long time. And so I had finally started to put a board together for that first software company. And I had all of one board member. And I was very fortunate that came together because we ended up going through the M&A process and selling the company. And if I didn't have that mentor and didn't have that help, would never have been successful in doing that. And so that just, demonstrated firsthand how valuable it is to have somebody who's already been there and done that.
So where do you find a good mentor that's going to have your best interests at heart?
Well, I'm a huge fan of networking on LinkedIn. And I think it's a great way to make contacts for every purpose that you have. And finding a great mentor is, now honestly, you're going to have to go through a lot of people. But the advantage is that you can. So let's say you want to do a career switch and you're looking to move into a different market. One of the best things you can do is be very open about that and reach out to a bunch of people on LinkedIn who are already doing that. Tell them exactly what you want and be amazed at how many people will be open to sharing their experience with you. And one of those is likely to turn into somebody that you really connect with and as a mentor at some level or another.
So these are people you don't know.
Yes, exactly.
And so how do you, so you reach out to them and you just ask and it works?
It does. I mean, it's, if you take the right approach with LinkedIn, it's amazing how effective it is. So if you are selling something and that's what you start with on LinkedIn, that's not going to work. We all get those kinds of connection requests and it just doesn't work. But if you come in with the attitude of I want to build a network, I want to learn, I want to be helpful to that network, there's undoubtedly things that you can do to help the people you're connecting with. And if that's the approach that you bring into the conversation, I mean, to me, LinkedIn is the ideal networking event because you get to meet with exactly the people you want to meet with. And you don't have to eat high calorie food at the same time. And that's why I really don't appreciate there's some people on LinkedIn who will say, well, I'm only going to connect with people I already know. And that would be like going to a cocktail party and saying, I'm only going to talk to people I already know. It's like, well, what's the point of being there?
Right. So this is a way to expand your horizons. And so how do you take the conversation beyond the platform?
Well, I turn them into phone calls very quickly. So if there's something interesting there and there's some sort of synergy, you just ask people to do a quick call and explore if there's some more depth there. And this is a great reason to sign up with one of the calendar services that makes it really easy to share a link to find a time. It makes the whole process really, really simple. And you can end up connecting with and learning from a lot of people very quickly.
So have you had more than one mentor over the trajectory of your career?
Oh, absolutely. And so I recently added this up just so that I could say it when I'm sitting here talking with you. So I have founded or been on, an investor and a board member of 27 companies.
Good heavens.
So I've worked with all kinds of different companies and entrepreneurs, and by far the best way to learn in each of those markets is going and talking to people who have already done it. And it often takes multiple people, because you want different perspective and different roles. And then someone turns into a long-term contact that's very helpful in that market.
So I think for some reason in my mind, I imagine a mentor as being one person who's this wise elder that you sit at their feet for years and learn things. But that's not what it is, right?
I think there's so much value in having a number of mentors, because you get so much perspective from that. And it's not that having one of my partners, Larry, grew the largest insurance company, family business, that he ended up taking over, not sure which generation, and grew it into the largest independent agency in where I live, which is in New Mexico. And that's really a ton about sales, and sales is just absolutely crucial to every company that I work on. And so I've learned so much from Larry over time. And so he's absolutely been a mentor over the years. And so you have long-term, and you have, I think a half-hour conversation with the right person in the right place is mentorship, because you're learning from somebody who has already been there and done that.
So what is the resistance to it? Like when you were 18, what were your arguments for not going with a mentor?
I just thought I knew better than everybody else, right? And there's an element of because I kind of feel like I was born an entrepreneur, and you have to be able to fool yourself a little bit if you're going to do that. But I think it's something that we all have, and it's just sort of like where we're at on the spectrum. It was hard for me to ask for advice, and it took some really tough lessons to get over that and realize that people actually want to help you. It makes them feel good when you ask them for help. It's beneficial to everybody.
Right. So it moves you forward. And if you're looking for a job, or you're trying to change careers, finding someone who's already working in it or who used to work in it can be an advantage. I can see how that can work. Are there any cautions that you have about choosing people to be mentors for you?
Well, so my approach has always been to have a wider array. So I think that's mostly upside. Obviously you've got to be choosing people that you really can learn from and have share the same values that you do and are going to take you in a positive direction. There are certainly people that see mentorship as a way to their own gain, and you really want somebody who is there for the purpose of giving back and helping, and because they want to contribute to their network.
Yeah. I find it frustrating when I do get those LinkedIn connections and it turns out the person just wants to sell me something. I get really tired of that. I get invited to join things on Facebook that turn out to be sales pages for things as well. So I'm sometimes a little bit cautious about connecting with people just because it seems to be constant.
And it is, and that's why that approach doesn't work very well. And that doesn't mean that if what you do is sales that you shouldn't do this. It's just you need to do it in a different way. And so, my view of the right way to sell is not to sell. It's is to share insight and perspective that makes everybody you come into contact with better off because of the benefit you're delivering to them. Sometimes that creates sales opportunities, and sometimes it's just helpful for people you've connected with.
Right. Have you become a mentor to others?
I have. It's one of the things I enjoy the most, because I've made so many mistakes in building businesses that helping somebody else at least make new mistakes is a lot of fun.
So tell us a little bit about your story, about what you have been doing all this time and where you're at now, what you're busy doing now.
So my first company was called Pro Law Software, and we designed what was really an ERP system for law firms, and spent 15 years growing that into being number one in our niche. Sold that to a large company, Thomson Reuters, kind of the 800-pound gorilla of the legal market, and it was a great experience for me to know that I really shouldn't ever work for anybody else. So I spent 3 years at Thomson Reuters, which was an amazing education, and started a small venture capital fund on the way out of Thomson, which is how I've gotten to get experience across so many different companies. And so I really love being involved in something brand new that is disruptive, that has the ability to make to paraphrase Steve Jobs, to make a small dent in the universe. And so that's what I get really excited about. And it's the people in those companies that make that happen. And so a really good team with an okay idea is always going to beat the reverse. And so it's really about helping people be great at building those companies. And so that's what I spend my time doing.
So I'm wondering about somebody listening to this who's always worked for someone else, who is maybe wanting to transition out of a long-term career that they're tired of. How do you know? I mean, you said you knew all the time from the beginning that you were an entrepreneur. But what if you're not sure? How can you figure that out?
Well, I think it's tough. The advantage I had of starting at 18 is I fortunately didn't have any kids, didn't have a mortgage. It's easier to take the risks at that point, right? So it does take planning and more effort to do it when it's more of a mid-career switch. But I think if that yearning and desire is there, that at some level you really know it, because the prospect of just going and switching careers or getting a job at another company doesn't really give you the thing you're looking for. And if that's really the case, then there's a good chance that you need to strike out on your own. And doing that intelligently is the right approach. But in the end, the vast majority, particularly people who have done fairly well in their careers, don't make the jump, even if they really have that strong desire. And I think you end up regretting that later in life, never taking the shot at it. And I don't know any other solution than if that's how you feel, you just have to make the jump and actually do it. It's never going to be easy.
No. And I mean, I guess you could begin with what they call a side hustle, right?
Yes. And it's how you're going to get the experience and whatever that would be. So it's very similar to if you're just going to switch careers. If you're going to go start a business, you need to do exactly the same thing. You need to talk to people who have already built businesses like that, have already done it. Go live a day in the life of. I mean, if you let's say you were going to do it by buying a franchise, for example. That's a very common thing to do, right? You're going to go visit multiple franchises. You're going to go work in somebody's existing franchise to see what it's like. Well, you should apply that same concept to any business that you would go to. The beautiful thing about franchises, they give you a ton of the whole point of it is giving you the process and procedure around it. But I think the real value is being able to experience it. But you can do that with, I mean, unless you're Elon and you're coming up with something that just absolutely doesn't exist today, there's somebody who has already done it. So go find them and see what it's really like.
That's the whole idea of modeling after somebody else who's already been there, done that, but bringing your own unique perspective to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is a bit scary, I would think. Have you ever felt that as you moved through all the different companies that you were part of? Have you ever felt in over your head?
Regularly. Yeah. That's part of being an entrepreneur. And, and since I had some success with my first company, part of the psychology that's so hard to deal with is we're all much more afraid of losing something we have than gaining something new. And that's why it's so hard to make that jump. If you have a good career and you're making good money, to take that risk is so difficult. The same thing happens if you've built a good company and sold it, or you're still running it and you're thinking about going and doing something new. It's the same exact problem.
Right. So where do you get your strength from? What grounds you in all that you're doing?
The real answer is meditating. I find it very powerful to have that that center that is just part of my life. And I can tell when I don't take the time to do it, and things start to veer off to the side, and it tells me I need to get back to it.
That's good. I did a couple of interviews recently with one was with a neuroscientist who invented a biofeedback device for meditation, and that was a fascinating interview. And then somebody right after that who is a world-renowned meditation teacher, and I had her on the show too. So it's very dear to my heart as well. Something I try and do every day.
Well, I'm very glad you're promoting that, because I think it's a great thing for everybody to do. Yeah. One of the lessons that was tough for me to learn is when you're building a company, the focus tends to be way too much on the end result. Like, I'm gonna build this company, I'm gonna sell it, and then I will have achieved nirvana. And the same thing happens in your career and buying a new car. The problem is that whatever that goal is that you hit, there's just another goal after that. And so it's really about the journey. So if we're not paying attention to what's happening right now, and we're constantly focused on just getting to that end goal, by the time you get there, you sort of missed everything that happened.
Right. I just talked to somebody, they call that the hedonistic principle, right? Where everything just expands and I need more and I need more and I need more. When we're talking about reaching those kinds of goals, and that having some centering practices is the way to help with that. So that's fascinating too. It keeps coming up in my conversations. It's
been really helpful to me to actually focus on the moment, enjoy what we're doing now.
Right. Well, that's good. Where can people find out more about you, Bill?
Well, so as you can tell, I'm a fan of LinkedIn, so you can certainly find me on LinkedIn and see the kind of things that I am talking about. And you can get to me via email at ceo@boomtime.com, which is the marketing company that I run. And I'm, the thing I'm passionate about is helping business grow. So it's what I love talking about.
Fantastic. And if you have one more piece of advice for the Careers by Jenn listener, what would that be?
So I'm reading, I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek's work, and he has a new book out, The Infinite Game. And if you're searching for something, I'm willing to bet that what you really want, whether it's starting a company or going to work for somebody else, you really want something that's led by someone who is playing in the infinite game. And so you need to read the book to see what that means and see why having that sort of greater purpose behind what you're doing is so compelling.
That's fabulous. I'm a fan of his as well, and I haven't read that book yet, so it's on my list. Well, thanks for sharing your wisdom with us today. It's been lovely to chat.
It's been a lot of fun. Thanks.
You've been listening to Careers by Jenn with Jenn Swanson. If you like what you heard, please share this. You know, if every single person listening today shared this episode with just one friend, our audience would be twice as big just like that. And the more people we can help with our content, the better. So help out a friend and help grow our audience by sharing this show with someone you know who would benefit from the content. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that, and together we can make a difference. Until next time, take good care.